And welcome. This is Chris Dunn, and we're coming to you with the Event Marketers Toolbox. Thanks so much for joining today. We are on episode number 30, and normally have a co-host to introduce, but Dana was going to join us today, and unfortunately, an emergency came up. So, as we do in the event world and the live entertainment world that we're in, we just go with it and we pivot. So, I'm actually very proud to be introducing the president or CEO of BlueHive, Caitlyn Correia. She's joining us today as our guest. Hey, Caitlyn, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? I'm very excited, a little nervous, but I'm very excited. Thank you.
Welcome to the Event Marketers Toolbox. So this morning I actually did a little promotional post for our show here, and I told a very brief version of the story of kind of how we ultimately got involved in doing a podcast, and kind of I painted this picture and I pitched this idea to you back in the fall, and you finally greenlighted it and ultimately set us off on this amazing journey. We started really the first of the year, so we are here, episode 30, and how apropos that you're joining us on. We're seven months in and getting a good understanding of these great conversations having in the event forum. So, Caitlyn, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your kind of backstory and your history and how you kind of got into this position?
Yeah, so first, by blood, my grandfather was in trade shows, owned a company, Admore, in the Worcester area. My father started and sold folio exhibits, and Blue Hive was created about, 20 plus years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Started shop, $10 under the table when that was a thing, sweeping floors, learning how to caulk, stuff show books. And while I was still in high school, college, and then graduated college, didn't know what I wanted to do. And I'm like, let's try, I'll work for my father, see how it goes. And it just was kind of pure bliss from there. The positives, the negatives, you name it. Started as an account manager for a lot of years, worked in kind of marketing, operations, and since have two little children. And I remember post my daughter a couple years back, my dad's like, "Are you ready?" I'm like, "Ready for what?" It's like, you're ready to take the next step, president, CEO. And I'm like, yes, let's do this. It's in my blood. I love everything about trade shows. I love the people. So it was just, I kind of grew from there. There was a positive, I think, which I'm sure we'll get into, is my dad had me start from the ground. So I learned all the different facets of the business, which I think really helped me be quite successful as president and now CEO of BlueHive and our parent company, Continental Woodcraft. So it's just the beginning.
Fantastic. Speaking of things that happened during your live show, is my AirPods just died, so I'm gonna have to click a couple buttons right here. But go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah, so I know we're going to talk about kind of the running a family business, the positives, the negatives, and the first thing I will always say is I'm so incredibly blessed. I'm blessed for the opportunity, but also I've worked
Working on this.
incredibly hard to kind of be where we're at. I think talking about rewards in running a family business is one thing my father said, is that, and I know my grandfather said the same, is the one thing I can provide you is my reputation. I have zero skeletons in the closet. So a big reward is that I have a great legacy that was already created. So then the challenge is obviously maintaining that.
Yeah.
Reputation is incredibly important. I spoke to the entire company just last week about the way you show up first, and the way you, some circumstances, have to end, say a relationship.
Mhm.
You need to put your best foot forward. I think other kind of rewards is I do have flexibility, but then also challenges is I'm always expected to show up. I have to, but I also want to.
Yep.
So it's that balance, is there's the goods, but also it comes with the challenges. But I think it makes it really, really easy because I love what I do, and I have an amazing support system, team members here. I have an amazing support system outside, a wonderful husband, parents, childcare, you name it, in order for me to be here, present, available. So it's exciting, and my journey is really just kind of starting. I'm inching closer to 40 every day now, but things are great.
Awesome. Awesome. So, yeah, apologize for that. I lost my audio for a hot
That's
second there.
okay.
So, um, uh, real quick before we kind of jump into the meat and potatoes of the conversation, obviously BlueHive is a sponsor, and we're going to talk a lot about BlueHive today, really from your lens. Um, so I'll jump past that because we'll get into the details of who we are and what we do. But Fist Bump is the agency, our agency partner, who helps us with putting on the podcast. And the brief story there is that a couple of years ago, I got involved with this group from a LinkedIn standpoint. They were offering kind of coaching for leadership and so forth, and it was a goal of mine to kind of get better on the platform. And after about a year or so working with them on coaching, they being Brandon Lee, the founder, and a couple of the other folks talked about the benefits of doing a podcast, and so kind of brought this idea to Caitlyn's attention. Hey, in this day and age, people don't want to just be, have brochures and pitch slap thrown at them, and they want to learn. They want to, have organic conversations. They want to ingest information in the way that they want to do that. So by having a podcast, we're able to become kind of thought leaders in the industry to create conversations with folks from all over trade shows and events and other areas within our, this live event forum. And it's allowed us to kind of create some amazing content, have some great conversations, and hopefully be more visible, right? Build our reputation, which will eventually and has already yielded opportunities. So anyways, thank you so much to Fist Bump. Juana's behind the scenes. This is a live show today, so absolutely weigh in. Let us know where you're hanging out, and then feel free to drop any questions into the comments. We'll do our best to get at them. So thanks very much for that. All right, Caitlyn, you're a young you're a mother of young children, and I know you just kind of put all this together, but just some of the challenges that you're facing with taking over this family business. You mentioned that your dad first, had a company, and then, sorry, your grandfather, then your father. Your father actually hired me 20 years ago, and you came along shortly thereafter as far as working in the business. So it's been amazing to really kind of watch you do all the jobs inside the company and then step into this leadership position. In thinking back on that, the training ground for you to do those different positions and not just jump to a leadership situation, right? To understand what it takes to be an account manager, to kind of, do all of the behind the scenes hard work. That must have been super valuable for you to kind of lay that foundation and appreciation for everybody's jobs and how different they are, but how important they are to be connected together.
Yeah, and I mean, I would say first off is I wouldn't be here without the support of everyone. Obviously, coming in as kind of the boss's kids, children,
Mhm.
um, it's there. Obviously, I put a lot of extra pressure on myself because I have to prove myself. I was always in the beginning, especially before kids,
Yeah.
first one in and the last one out. I accepted every challenge. I would travel if I needed to. I would stay up late if I needed to. I would take on extra projects. I mean, anything. Again, that's my own kind of philosophy is that I had to do more. in order to kind of gain people's trust that I wasn't just going to kind of come in again
Yeah.
as the boss's daughter. Obviously, that opportunity to be hired was given to me, but I feel very confident that me sitting in the seat, I worked incredibly hard for that. But having the support, and even again, a lot of people have seen me when I was little, is allowing me for that opportunity. So obviously me working hard, but the team provides me the confidence that where everyone's on board with all of this, but it comes with plenty of struggles. Um, I think, um, yeah, it's the balance, and again, I always took as being the boss's daughter and a woman as an opportunity. Being on the trade show floor with a lot of majority of men working
Mhm.
on installing our booths and whatnot is so that could be intimidating. I took it as an opportunity, and any opportunity, any thing that has come along, I've taken as an opportunity and just continue to have confidence in myself that I'm here for a reason, and I
Yeah.
love what I do.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I will say you are unique in that you come from a trade show family. And
Yes.
within my family, even after 20 years of doing this work with Blue Hive, they kind of know what I do, but maybe not exactly, right?
I
There's,
still have to tell all of my friends and even my cousins like what I do.
yeah, right. They think
But
you travel around and you get to go to all the great places and do
well,
all
and
this.
I think that's been a positive is because
Yeah.
I remember, and got my grandfather has passed since,
Yeah.
but me starting in, I remember calling him on McCormick Place floor and
Yeah.
talking to him what I'm seeing, and then he would
Yeah.
tell me stories back in what 70s, 80s of how like tough the union was. Great to have that connection. I'm very blessed for that. I can share those connections with my father, obviously, and with my grandfather. So it's been great from that standpoint. They understand what I'm going through.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to do too deep of a dive. They get it right
Yep,
off the
been
bat.
there. This is how I've
Yeah.
handled it.
And now your son and your daughter, what are they like? They're 4 and 2, 5 and 3, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yep,
We're already grooming
12.
them.
Yes. Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm
We've
prepared
already
for,
been talking
either
about
Marcus or Noel to be my boss.
Yes, we're already talking about the lingo there.
Okay.
Maybe unfortunate, but both my husband's in large format graphics
Okay.
and is part of the family business as well. So they get
Yep.
it from both angles. God bless my children. Um, but yeah, they hopefully that would be my goal is in
Yeah.
say 10 years when my son's 16, he's starting to sweep floors here, maybe even earlier.
There we go. He may
Yeah.
be, he'll roll into his first class, kindergarten, first grade, and tell people about SEGs,
Yeah.
backlit graphics, maybe what drayage is, things of that nature.
Yeah, exactly. So start them young. And I think that's part of kind of where what we're talking about is balancing. I
Yeah.
think again, it's so incredibly important. I am blessed to have the best support system. My
Yeah.
husband and I, again, him running a family business, being in the same sort of fast-paced world, understanding salaries, layoffs, or hiring, can't get jobs, we've got last minute things on jobs. I
Yeah.
am able to bounce a lot of stuff off of him. So the balance it's a challenge. I'm being the mom.
Yep.
I'm the one that have to take them to doctor's appointments. I'm the one that if they're home sick or if my nanny or support system's sick, my children come to the office. So balancing it's a blessing, but it's a challenge, as they've said. Even when you have little kids, is the days, the weeks are really long, but the years are short. Yeah, the years are short. So in the day to day, there are very tough days. But if you look back, oh, a few months ago, no big deal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So my son was actually the first baby born when
Mhm.
Blue Hive existed. So I was hired in April of '05, and Brady was born in June. And now he's 20. He's going to be a junior in college. So I can verify absolutely that the time does, in fact, fly. And I think back to the early days of the Blue Hive organization. We were, in this mill building over in Millbury, and we got our start there, and then we moved to to our current location in Worcester. So it's been quite a ride, and it's been absolutely a pleasure to be along on this trail with you.
Yeah, it's been, I think that's one of the, obviously, as we've been around for 20 years and everyone's seen in their other companies, there's now that kind of new generation. There's a lot
Yeah.
of challenges that I've now being faced with retirements. There's a lot of people that worked with my father for a long time that are now
Mm.
starting to retire. I learned a couple years ago about flex-tirement. It was a terminology.
Okay.
And then we've got the new people coming in. We were
Right.
talking, we've got two hivers that are about to have babies this week. So
Yep.
they're now in what shoes that you were in 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's kind of balancing, again, talking about challenges is just the different dynamics of generations.
Right.
And
And you manage people in different generations in a different fashion, right? So we're in this workforce right now where we have baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, Gen Z, and then Generation Alpha, whatever, or whatever's next, right? They're literally like right around the bend.
yeah,
Um, so it's very cool that we've got folks in their upper 60s and 70s who are mentoring and working with people in their early 20s. It doesn't make it easy, but it's a wonderful blend of people with all this really deep, rich history and experience in the event industry, and at the same time, we're the ones who are hunting and pecking around our computers, and we're calling the young kids over and be like, I don't know what's going on with this. Can you? And they're like, oh, you just have the wrong screen open. I'm like,
yeah,
oh, okay, good. So we
yeah,
work well together in that fashion.
yes, yes.
Absolutely. It's, you mentioned, kind of managing this multi-generational, group, and we all view things. We work in different ways. You yourself have seen kind of this trend towards, in office versus hybrid and so forth. And we build stuff, right? We are designing, we're building. We really need to be in the building, not every single person every day, but for the most part, we're not a tech company that can operate completely remotely. So this has been a challenge, right? And there's this ongoing conversation out there on the internets and so forth about in office and at home and all of that kind of stuff. There's some great benefits that come with having a remote workforce. You can cast a wider net, find talent that's not necessarily in your local geography, and you can also leverage time zones and everything. And at the same time, having people in the office and having that synergy of that hallway conversation, like, oh, hey, boom, I was just thinking about this thing, right? Give us a little peek into what your philosophies are and your thoughts on how you're managing these days, flexibility versus, the need for in office and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to be flexible and adaptable. One thing we did 2 years ago may not work this year. I think so obviously the hybrid in office it's just the way that the environment is. It's the way post COVID, as you mentioned, and bringing in additional talent. I really want to hire somebody with a lot of experience. They may be coming from Chicago or California or whatnot.
Mhm.
Even the new business deal that we just completed, that team's based in Texas.
Mhm.
So you have to be open to it. Key is communication. I'm an in office person, so that is just how I work. Obviously, managing the business, my first thing I do when I come into the office is I make a loop around the facility. I stop at our warehouse first, then come up here and just talk with people. I get a better sense of like, okay, if somebody's feeling good today, if they're struggling with something, and just that face to face, you can't beat it. And actually, that's our business.
Mhm.
Um, so I think it's important, and it's important for me. But again, retaining talent when talking about new generations. Me being a mom, and I'm already a little anxious about next year. Marcus starting kindergarten, Noelle's still in preschool. Is like okay, I got to drop them off at the bus. I have to do this sort of stuff. So having that flexibility, whether it is some people are starting to retire, they don't want to make the long commute any longer, and then the flip opposite of the young people having to deal with their children, or again they're living a further distance. Communication is key, and making sure that we're talking about culture. So one of the things that we do here, I've been doing it for maybe almost 2 years, is hive time.
Mhm.
So it's a quarterly, not mandatory, but everyone does show up. Um, meeting
Guess you
of
feed
kind
them.
of, yeah, I do feed them. Everyone loves free food. um, Kind of meeting of the minds is what's happening. I know a lot of people are always, I want to know what happens behind closed doors. I'm like, well, I will obviously will share a lot. Some of the stuff obviously has to stay behind closed doors,
Mhm.
partially because that's my job to protect people. But talking about cultures, getting people involved. These are the new things that my millwork company is doing, that our kind of graphic department's doing. These are the new people we've hired. Again, everyone being all over the place, seeing faces, knowing what their role is. We do Hiver of the Quarters, where our employees nominate the people that they work with on what good things that they've been doing the past quarter or past year. So finding opportunities to bring the remote people within this building, because naturally, as you're walking through the building and even our meeting earlier, everyone's laughing and joking, and but it's sometimes hard to replace that in person, because again the I've had so many different meetings or conversations in the kitchen that talking about their kids or a project that they're struggling with, that maybe somebody wouldn't call me to tell
Mhm.
me that, but if you're walking in the building, I'm like, something seems off. I'm going to pull that person aside later, and see, hey, is it something personal? Is it something work related? How can I help? So again, it's just the way that the world is. It's just finding that balance of keeping people engaged, is key.
Yeah, no, that's great. There's so much in there that you just spoke about that I want to kind of follow up on and try to do it in a fashion that doesn't go off in
Right.
too many different directions. So, I remember one of your dad's, management philosophies dumbed down to a simple statement of like walking by managing, or I'm sorry, managing by walking around.
Mm,
So the importance of just people want to be heard, right? They want to be understood, and they just want to make sure that they have a voice.
well,
So the fact that you take the time to kind of go around the office to touch base, and granted, it's not every single person every single day, but you're touching base with them and just checking in, and then how are you doing, right? And to your point, if you see that something seems a little bit off, the ability to kind of maybe grab them a little bit later on and just do a check-in. Maybe it's I got a toothache, but maybe it's like my kid's sick, or maybe it's this the project I'm working on right now is stressing the heck out of me. So it could be an awful lot of things. So I applaud you for being so approachable, and
Yeah,
that's
well, I
really
think just a thought that came to
yeah,
my brain, and not saying that obviously I'm a woman. That's how I was born and
yeah,
whatnot. But I do think my dad is very charismatic. But being a woman and being a mom,
mhm,
we can talk a little bit more about some maybe more intimate things. I
yeah,
remember helping onboard a shop professional, and he was sharing pictures of his kids and talking about he's having a struggle of sleep regressions and whatnot. I'm like, you need this. I'm blanking on what the name is, but essentially it's some type of snuggy thing to help them sleep.
okay,
So naturally, my father wouldn't talk about that sort of
no,
thing, but I
true,
think having, again, I'm a different generation. I am a woman and I'm a mom. There's
hmm
maybe a bit more of a different type of connection. No worse or better,
hmm
but I think that's just the culture that that we have, and that I try to make myself approachable. But I have been learning about boundaries too.
Right. There
So
is there is a balance. Well, much like, you've established a balance with your husband and your family. It's like we talk about a lot of stuff, and at the same time, let's draw a line somewhere. Like we have to have where it's actually just me and my husband as a couple versus like two business owners who are just
yeah,
griping,
yeah. They're like, okay, we're
about
done
their
talking
day.
about business. Let's talk about something or a
Yeah,
hike we're gonna go on or whatnot. Yeah, we
yeah,
get too
exactly.
much business talk, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can imagine. All right. So let me circle back. So I've got some questions that we put together
Yeah,
here, all Caitlin approved. Um, but obviously planning, right? You're running a company. You mentioned our other divisions. So one of your philosophies, one of your dad's philosophies has been about diversification,
yep,
right? We have BlueHive Exhibits, which is a custom exhibit agency where 60 to 70 people strong. BlueHive Group as a whole is 110 or so, right? So we
yep.
have these other business units that live under the umbrella. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, the different parts of our business, and then also, why that's important to kind of have these diversification, much like a stock portfolio.
Yeah, cash flow. Cash
Okay.
flow. I think as especially as we learned during COVID, I mean, trade shows completely shut down. No one was getting on flights. We were blessed. So Continental we purchased in 2008, and
Mhm.
essentially they cut wood just like Blue Hive does.
Mhm.
But they were deemed essential. So we were building out hospitals in the Bronx, so machines were continuing to run. So again, reason for diversification. We know you don't want to go too far out there of things that don't mesh well with your business. Know what you're
Mhm.
good at, but what other ways can we, what opportunities can we take advantage because we have this machine?
Mhm.
Um, so Continental, they've been around for many years, but we've had them under our roof for about 15, and they doing my beautiful office, as
Yeah.
you can see, lucky that I
Gorgeous.
get to sit in here. Municipalities, so a lot of universities, police station, fire stations, hospitals, you name it. Other thing, again, kind of during the pandemic, is we have graphic machines that were just sitting. Is there an opportunity to print things? So looking at kind of a be ready graphics, a DBA
Mhm.
is kind of competes with fast signs. So we've been actually wrapping a lot of vans. So we
Mhm.
did some great work with Veterans Inc., a plumbing company, our own vans. So again, a way to bring in some extra money, keep the guys busy. The last thing I want is people sweeping floors. um, Lime. So we launched in during the pandemic,
Mhm.
our own labor division. So essentially, it's an offshoot of Blue Hive. They support all of our Blue Hive clients from beginning to end when it comes to labor management, installation, and so we've got a now growing crew. But I think it's talking about diversification. It's really important to make sure you have a lot of opportunities. That's my one of my biggest responsibilities is having opportunities. So I may have, say, 5 to 10 things that I'm working on, knowing that maybe 5 of them won't come to fruition, but
Mhm.
because I have a handful of things that I'm kind of working towards and making sure that it makes sense for our business and makes sense financially. Um, it's key. You can't in this world, in all industries, you cannot stay stagnant. So what other opportunities
Mm.
can we bring in house to support our clients? At the end of the day, that is what it is. I mean, naturally, making sure that there's good cash in the bank. I don't have my banks cutting my credit line, you name it, but it's how best or how better can we serve our clients. So adding kind of little nuggets that make sense. Digital, talking about experiential, we do all
Mhm.
that in house. I have a few other kind of things in the fire of other opportunities that make sense for us.
Right. And thinking back to when Blue Hive really kind of brought in or purchased, Continental, and then looking at how far they've come. So as an architectural millwork firm, the synergies, as you mentioned, are in the shop, right? Our front end businesses are very different.
Yep.
On the Blue Hive side, we're out hunting. We've got sales people who are, consultative sellers who are constantly reaching out and trying to find new business. On the millwork side, those are relationships with GCs and architectural firms and so forth, and the business pretty much comes to them, but they have to earn it. They have to put enough tentacles out there, feelers out there, so that they're involved in opportunities. And
Yep.
then, as one of the really cool things that obviously I've noticed is that their business kind of picks up in the summer, right? Especially for university work and other schools, as a for instance, when there's not students there, that's when universities and schools will do all of their most of their work, or at least a lot of the install work. So
Yep.
as our industry does, we get super busy in the spring. January to June, we are literally putting out fires and chasing everything. And then there's a bit of a break. The summer's a little bit of a slower time in the exhibit world as we get ready for an onslaught in the fall. But to see our Continental team kind of fill in that summer with increased amounts of production and obviously revenue that follows that, as a business owner, right? That's what you're preaching, is that by being diverse and having multiple kind of pistons pumping, is that you don't have the dramatic porpoising of your revenue kind of peaking but then dropping.
Yep. Yeah, and naturally you can only plan so much, as I
Mhm.
think I said earlier or yesterday, is man plans and God laughs. Uh,
Yes.
it's, but again, having looking at opportunities that make sense. I
Mhm.
think the synergy between Continental and Blue Hive in particular, we've worked incredibly hard at it. Again, reputation, but I'm able to pull some of our shop guys at the
Mhm.
lower shop to the upper shop, knowing that in springtime, when we talk about people working over Easter and whatnot, I'm able to add. So again, talking about cash flow, not over hiring. You want to be careful of bringing on too many people just for seasonals. We've never had kind of seasonal layoffs. Again, being able to bounce off the two separate companies has been a huge success for us,
Yeah.
especially after the pandemic.
Right. No, absolutely. So we're alluded to the planning, right? So as the person who's responsible for this organization, you sit on top and you've got this 10,000-foot view of things, and you have very intimate views as well within certain areas. How do you kind of look at the strategic planning for, let's say, 1, 3, 5 years, right? So we've got to do what we need to do this year, right? We're getting into Q3, Q4 of 2026. We had a really good first 2 quarters, but what's the second half of this year hold, right? So you're looking at short term, but then like, okay, so beyond that, what are we doing to make sure that in 3 years we're growing and we're viable, in 5 years and even beyond that? What does that kind of look like from your lens?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. I think making sure that I'm up to date in industry news, is going to networking events, hearing about what other companies are learning, are experiencing. Obviously, our nature of our business is different, but it all plays to one another. So it's
Mhm.
keep trying to keep my head above water, in a sense of just making sure I have the time and opportunity to, again, go to networking events, EDPA access, anything that's within our industry, and talking with our clients. It's hard. I mean, a lot of the times too, a little bit back to diversification and planning stuff is a lot of the opportunities like Lyme, labor, and other Be Ready, those ideas have come from employees. So again, back to diversification, communication. If we didn't have kind of an open door policy that every idea is an idea to be heard, and then if it's a good one, you capitalize on it. Um, Lyme wasn't necessarily part of my 1, 3, 5 year plan, but because I'm communicating with people that this is a need, this is things that we're seeing on the floor. This is what I think will get us a step ahead of our competitors. Um, things like that is just being out there and talking about, again, and then my role looking at financials. So
Mhm.
we opened up our own facility in Las Vegas just shy of 2 years ago, and we're already outgrowing it. So looking at
Mhm.
other facilities, knowing that I have a certain amount of lease left is okay. What are my opportunities? I fly out there, check with the team. Do you think we can manage this? And then looking at numbers to see, okay, yeah, this makes sense. We see this
Mhm.
stuff coming down the pipeline. Um, it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of things that are kind of high in the sky in my brain, and this is what I want to do, and these are my ideal goals for that. But then knowing that as things happen and change, okay, that now can't happen, but this can happen instead. So I don't know if I answered that. It's a hard question to
Yeah.
answer.
Right. Well, you have we'll call it a famous, saying that your dad used to say, and that I've heard you say as well, with regards to just having faith, right? So, what is that? Can you share that statement?
You will have to remind me, having faith. Oh,
Oh,
oh, yeah.
just don't
Um,
lose.
so
Don't.
yes, yeah. So talking about the people and actually, I'm one of those people. I like instant gratification. I
As
want
most people
things to
do,
happen
right?
now. I wanted them to happen yesterday. I don't have
Yeah.
patience for things. But again, talking about culture and people's that trusting, you can lose patience with me, but don't lose faith in me. I've
Mhm.
said this many times of if I am promising you something, it will happen. You just may have to have patience with me. I will never promise something if I know I can't keep it. And sometimes it's a struggle to get people to know or to be on board. I mean, naturally, you've known me for a long time. A lot of people here have known me for a long time, but it's the new people of like, just trust me, as I will take care of you. It just may take some time. It's
Yeah,
huge.
absolutely. And yesterday, we were chatting about a whole bunch of things. One of which being this conversation coming up, and I mentioned how my wife in particular, she's the type of person that's just like, she likes transparency and communication. She wants to be communicated with, and if that's not happening, she feels a little, put out, like, why aren't they telling me these things? And
Yeah.
as I shared that with you, you had a really interesting reply to me, and I think you've already kind of touched on it, but just to circle back, um, you know, you have to find that balance. Yes, I can be transparent. We can talk about a lot of different things, but there's certain things that you, as the CEO of this company, you are not at liberty to share, nor do you want to kind of put that out there and set false expectations or get people riled up for no reason, right? So you're doing a great job of walking that line and finding the balance of, like, yes, I can share some things. There's other things I need to play closer to the vest. You will hear about these things when the time is right. um,
Yeah, and I think the big thing, so depending on what it is, I mean, part of my philosophy or just the way that my role is, I never want to burden somebody with something that's my responsibility.
mhm,
It's my, I'm naturally, everyone has sleepless nights. there's a handful, maybe more, because it's my responsibility. I don't
Mhm.
want to burden one of my managers with something, or one of their people that they manage with something, because that's my responsibility to manage. So it's a part of protecting them too. So it is that fine balance. As I sometimes I want to be like on top of the mountain and be like, this is what's going on,
Yeah.
but everyone interprets things different. Whether it's okay, I'm super excited, or ooh, that what does that mean?
Mhm.
The last thing I want is to again put that burden on anyone else. There's a lot of times, and a little bit off subject, but my like, because I have a lot of philosophies and mottos, but I try and lead with kind of positivity.
Mhm.
And somebody mentioned to me is whether it's some situation, I'm like, how do you stay so positive? I'm like, well, because my energy feeds off of my employees. If they see that I'm shaken up by something or whatnot, then that's going to go on to them,
Right.
and then potentially on to their family. I've said this many times. I not only hire my employees, but I also hire their families.
Mm.
So if their wife or significant other or partner, whatever it may be, if they're worried, naturally they're going to get worried, and it's kind of a domino effect. So
Right.
staying positive is part of my thing, but I shared as like, I have a door that I can close, and I can say what I want to say in private, or
Yeah.
drive home in silence. But when I come in here, I try to be as positive as possible, because again, everyone feeds off of everyone's energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. All right. Before we start wrapping up, I've got one more question, and I'm gonna also plug our next week's show. So next week's guest is Chris Griffin. Chris is currently the president of EDPA, Exhibit Producers and Designers Association. It's an awesome industry, group that we're part of. And so Chris is in this leadership position. You actually served as a leader on the EDPA Northeast. So that's basically our own, Northeast corridor subversion, or subset subcommittee of the greater whole. What are some of the things that you, I guess, learned in that leadership position? You get to meet other people in similar circumstances. They are competitors, but at the same time, like, I feel like our industry has done a pretty good job of working together. Like, we saw what it looked like when there was no shows and it sucked, right? So
Mm.
at least we have this common experience. Anybody who's not brand new since COVID saw what this looks like. So I think the industry has done a really great job of pulling together. Examples of that are like the Randy Smith, fundraiser, and other things that the EDPA, regionals are doing. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you kind of have been able to take away from these, sitting on these boards and sitting on these, industry kind of platforms, and seeing the industry as a whole versus just Caitlyn as the owner of BlueHive.
Yeah, I mean, I think going again, sitting at tables with other competitors, I mean, naturally there's things that you'll hold to your chest, but otherwise we all do roughly the same sort of thing. So there's a huge camaraderie from that.
Mm.
Understandings, long hours, you name it. I think I think from one of the things I've developed, I guess, is just better partners, especially when it comes to vendors, is going
Mm.
to EDPA Access or even the EDPA Northeast. There's a lot of shipping and SUG fabric vendors. I think just you have to be open and open to networking and getting to know one another. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just the camaraderie and the connection, that we're in the same, and we all love trade shows. That's the goal is
Yeah.
to make sure that our industry does not go anywhere. We only continue to evolve it and get better for the greater. If we all have each other kind of fighting naturally, it's friendly competition.
Yep.
But I mean, it's networking is being open and rubbing shoulders with somebody that maybe you didn't think you would, but you have a lot of things that are in common, especially if other people that run their family businesses. There's a lot of trade show families
Right.
in our industry. So
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So Keith Geyer, one of our awesome sales folks, has weighed in with a couple of comments here. So KG, we see you out there. Thanks for supporting us. We appreciate it. And now your name is indelibly tied to this show forever and ever. Absolutely. And Zadia, thanks so much for being here. She's one of our stellar listenees. You're right. It's all about community, and your comment from earlier about being in person and in office is a different vibe than being remote. So we're all kind of working through all of these things all at the same time. So as we start to wrap up, we have a signature type of a thing that we do here. It's very unique. No one else has ever done this. Give us, if you would, 3 takeaways. I'm totally fibbing, of course.
I love it.
3 takeaways for our audience, things that we can either, put a bow on things you've talked about or add to anything that you might want to end with, takeaways that people can kind of put into action or really kind of latch on to.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a lot of stuff.
Yes.
I think the one thing, if anyone's looking to get into a family business or maybe start their business, and if they're
Mhm.
a woman or a mom, is you have to have 2 feet in. It is relentless. There's certain days that are awesome. There's other days that are not awesome. So having 2 feet in and committed and patience with yourself,
Mhm.
I think's really really key. Again, all the other stuff of support systems and whatnot. Not everyone has a good support system, but if you have a goal and a dream and go for it, but you got to be 2 feet in. That's the only way that it'll work. Again, talking about diversification is, again, being in a leader or even managers is making sure that you're thinking about plan A, B, C, D, because okay, maybe A, B, C don't work, but you've got D and E, whether
Mhm.
it's hiring people, or if you want to make this decision, but you already think maybe this is the route that decision will go, well then, okay, being flexible and adaptable to shift quickly because you already pre-planned what either an answer would be or an outcome would be. Um, and maybe other stuff is, again, just being confident in yourself, blocking out the noise.
Mhm.
Um, um, I think those the big things. There's so much we talked about. So
No, those are great, and I really like the last one. That's the haters are gonna hate, right? It's like there'll always be critics. There'll always be people who tell you that you're stupid for trying that, or that's never gonna work, or you
I
know,
one comment is always sticking in my mind is somebody mentioned, again, I've got a reputation, my father and grandfather, is that Caitlyn's not going to succeed in his other terms, and it's stuck in my brain forever,
okay.
and I'm like, I will prove you wrong.
That's a nice little chip on your shoulder to have right there.
Yep.
Fantastic. Well, that's and then that goes to believing in yourself and putting your blinders on and just working through it. So this has been a tremendous conversation. It's been great. Obviously, we talk all the time, but I think it's so cool to be able to kind of open up the pull
A
back the
little bit
curtains a
more
little bit.
personal.
Yeah, a little bit more personal. Let some other folks kind of meet you. You are the CEO of BlueHive. We're evolving, right? We're 20 years in, but we're going to be a different company, in the next 10 years than we were the last 10 years.
Yep.
So we're
Yep.
always changing and evolving, and having young, forward thinking, positive leadership is a game changer. It makes this company that I've loved and I bleed blue for, for the last 20 years. It makes it a great place to come. And we've just got, it's a great industry. It's, to your point, there's good days and there's shitty days for sure, like any other business. But what we get to do for our clients, I think, is amazing. And the friendships and the camaraderie that's formed, facing outward, right, to our clients and how we help them, and also facing inward to the relationships that we build within BlueHive. It's just it's been really great. So I know most folks who listen to and watch this show are related to the industry in some fashion, right? And we're doing our best on the Toolbox here to build a community of kind of like-minded event people. So whether you come from the agency side, or corporate events or trade shows, or festivals, or if you're on the customer side and you're the event manager, like pulling all of these folks together to kind of have wonderful conversations that people can learn from and hopefully take things away. That's our goal here. So Caitlyn, thank you so much for contributing to that. And certainly your lens and perspective as a business owner and a mother are just fantastic. It's not a conversation we've had yet on the Toolbox. So this has been a wonderful, wonderful episode. I think there'll be a lot of great takeaways from here.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
Excellent. So, all right, last thing, how do people get a hold of you should they want to talk to you?
Mm-hmm. LinkedIn. I already get too many emails and phone calls.
Okay.
So LinkedIn, please. Yes.
Absolutely.
Just my name, Caitlyn Correia.
There you go.
Yeah.
Caitlyn Correia. Okay. Awesome. Well, we're wrapping it up. We are 50 minutes in. This has been a great episode. Thank you all for participating. Again, you'll be able to watch this recording here on LinkedIn and also YouTube. And then within a couple of days, it'll be up on your favorite podcast platform. That's my favorite way of consuming podcasts. I like to listen when I'm driving or walking the dog. So it's a great way to kind of just, take things in and learn as you're doing other stuff, right? Multitasking at its best.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. We're wrapping. Take care, everybody. Thanks so much, Caitlyn, and see you guys around. Everybody have a good rest of your week.